The chair by the window has a particular indent in the cushion now. It took years to make. You sit there most mornings with your tea going cold beside you. The mug has a chip on the handle. You never replaced it. The view hasn't changed in 11 years. A maple tree. A quiet road. Sometimes a dog you don't know the name of. You watch the light move across the floor. There's something that happens every Thursday that keeps you going. We'll get there. But first, the chair, the indent, the cold tea. This is where you live now. It started in the autumn when your youngest moved to Portland. You remember the specific weight of that Sunday, the way the car was packed so carefully, every box labeled in her handwriting, nothing left to chance. You walked her out. You hugged her longer than she expected. She pulled back first. She smiled in the way people smile when they are managing something. And she said, "You're going to be absolutely fine." She meant it as a gift. You received it as a door closing. You stood in the driveway until the car disappeared. Then you went inside and washed the 2 cups from breakfast. You dried them. You put them back in the cupboard. And somewhere between the washing and the putting away, you made a quiet decision that you would not let yourself wait for the phone to ring. That waiting was a thing you would not do to yourself. You kept that decision for 6 weeks. Then you opened the door again, just slightly. You are only human. Here is what no one tells you about this kind of love. It does not curdle. It does not demand. It simply sits inside you, enormous and patient, and you carry it the way you carry your own name, without thinking, without effort, without being able to put it down. You are proud of them. Genuinely, completely proud. Their happiness is not your wound. But 2 things can be true at once, and this is the one no one says aloud. You can be proud to the point of tears and invisible at the same time. You can love without reservation and still feel that love has nowhere to land. That is not a contradiction. That is just what it is. You were the one who memorized the school timetables, all 3 children, all those overlapping years. You were the one who sat in the car in the rain outside the sports hall because practice ran late and no one thought to text. You were the one who knew which child couldn't sleep after watching certain films, who knew that the middle one needed 15 minutes of silence before any difficult conversation, who knew the exact sound of a nightmare versus a bad dream, and which one required your footsteps down the hall. You were the architecture of that house. The load-bearing wall no one notices because it has never fallen. And now you sit in the chair by the window. You do not say this to anyone. But some mornings you stand in front of the mirror and you cannot quite find the person who did all of that. She was so certain of her usefulness. You look for her sometimes. You haven't found her yet. On Tuesdays you make a full dinner. Not for a guest, not for a reason. You set one place at the table, properly, with the cloth napkin folded the way you used to fold it when the house was full. You put a candle in the middle of the table even when you don't light it. You make something that takes time, a proper roast, or a pot of soup that requires the bones to be skimmed twice. You eat about 1/3 of it. The rest goes into containers, labeled with the date in your handwriting. You put them in the freezer. They stack up. You don't throw them away because throwing food away is wasteful, and your mother raised you to know the value of things. But they also stack up because making them feels like evidence. Evidence that if someone called right now and said they were coming over, you would be ready. The freezer is always full. Nobody is coming over, and you fold the napkin anyway. Every Thursday, your youngest calls. Not long. 12 minutes, maybe 15. She calls from the car on her way to pick up the children from school. You can hear the engine, the turn signals sometimes, the radio being turned down. 12 minutes is not nothing. You know that. You tell yourself that regularly. Researchers who study this have found that brief, predictable contact can matter as much as extended contact, not because it satisfies the need, but because it structures the week around something real. You don't know the study, but you feel the truth of it every Thursday morning. The whole day has a different quality. You dress better. You choose the nicer mug. Then the call comes, Warm and fast. Love you, gotta go. Talk soon. And she's gone. Thursday evening is the quietest part of the whole week. 12 minutes. The thing that holds everything up. This particular feeling, and you would never name it, never use that word, is not about being forgotten. Your children have not forgotten you. They think of you. They intend things. They mean to call more. This is not that. This is the feeling of being loved in the past tense. Being someone whose chapter has already been written and filed. Present in people's histories, but absent from their days. That is the precise thing. It has no name, everyone agrees on. But you know exactly where it lives. You stopped calling first about 2 years ago. Not dramatically. Not as a protest. You stopped because of a specific thought you had one evening after you called your son, and he answered, distracted, clearly mid-something, and said, "Can I call you back?" and didn't. Not that night. Not the next day. 4 days passed. You are not angry about that. People are busy. Life accelerates. But the thought, the one you sat with for a long time, was this. Every time you call first, you make them aware that they hadn't called, and making them feel that awareness costs them something. A small guilt, a small debt. And you decided, quietly and completely, that you would not be a debt. That you had spent your entire life giving, and you would not spend what remained, making people feel they owed you something. So you wait. You wait for them to think of you. Sometimes they do. And here is the confession, the real one. The waiting is the hardest thing you have ever done. Harder than the years that were actually hard. Because at least in those years, you were needed. You would give a great deal to be needed again. Even once. Even for something small. You remember the sound of the house at 7 in the morning when all three were home. The specific percussion of it. Cabinet doors, cereal boxes, the scrape of chair legs on the kitchen tiles. Someone always dropped a spoon. Always. It was one of those things you'd say, exasperated. Does no one in this house have grip? You said it so many times it became a family phrase, repeated back at you, mockingly, lovingly, endlessly. You would give everything to hear a spoon drop on that kitchen floor. You remember the smell of Sunday afternoons in the old house, laundry drying on the radiator and whatever was in the oven. You can't reproduce it. You've tried. You remember the weight of a small body climbing into your bed at 3 in the morning, without asking, certain of the welcome. That uncomplicated certainty, that absolute trust in your presence. They grew up, that is the whole story. They grew up, and it worked, and you would not undo it. But that weight, that small, warm, certain weight, gone. Now I want to speak to you directly, the one watching this. Your parent, the one you haven't called this week, the one you keep meaning to visit, is not going to tell you what you just heard. They will not tell you about the napkin. They will not tell you Thursday is the day that holds the week together. They will not tell you about the freezer, or the mirror, or the decision about not wanting to be a debt. They will tell you they are fine. Don't let them close that door on you. Here is something specific. The next time you speak to them, don't ask how they are. Ask them about something that happened before you were born. Ask about the first home they ever lived in. Ask what music was playing at something important in their life. Ask them to be a full person in front of you, not just your parent, not just someone you check on. Watch what happens to their voice. You still have time to do this. That is the fact and the mercy. But time is the one thing in this situation that does not expand to meet your intentions. The door is still open. That is what you need to understand. And to you, the person this is actually about, I want to say something. You carry inside you the specific history of a family that no one else alive remembers in full. You carry the first words, the first illnesses, the private jokes that belong to no one else. You carry the version of them that was purely yours, before the world got in, before they became themselves to everyone else. You carry every sacrifice made without keeping a record, without wanting anything back. That love has nowhere to go right now. It is still there, all of it, patient inside you. That is not a loss. That is the last, fullest evidence of who you are. And so you go back to the chair. The maple tree is moving slightly. The dog, you don't know the name of Trots, passed again. The mug is cold. You will make another cup in a moment. You would do all of it again. Every school run in the rain, every night you didn't sleep, every plan you folded quietly away because someone else needed the space where that plan had been. You would do it all again without being asked. Thursday is coming. The phone will ring for 12 minutes. You will use the nicer mug. And the thing that belongs entirely to you, the thing no absence can reach, is this. You know exactly how much you love them. You know it in your body, in your bones, in the indent of the chair. No one can take that knowledge from you. It is yours. That is enough. It is just enough. If someone came to mind while you watched this, go to them, call them, sit with them, not tomorrow, today. If this moved you, share it with someone who needs to see it, and subscribe. There are more stories here worth hearing.